Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. I would like to welcome you to the Sunday Book Review. The Sunday Book Review is the series where I discuss books which impact the compliance practitioner, the legal professional, and the business professional. I hope you will enjoy this episode. The Sunday Book Review is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network. First, a quick word from our sponsor. The Sunday Book Review for April 2, 2022, the Books on Corruption Part 2 edition. This continues a two-part series based upon an article by David Beckler in The Guardian entitled 10 Books About Corruption. Today we take up books 6 through 10 on his list. First up, The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. The protagonist arrives in Victorian London and he is a despised outsider, yet through dissecting the desires of the characters he runs across and the depths they'll sink, he rises to the House of Lords. Next up, on a much more serious note, Red Notice by Bill Browder. Bill Browder managed a fund in Russia with $4.5 million in assets until he pissed off oligarchs. They came after him, and then the Russian government came after him, and he campaigned for the Magnitsky Act, which led to government sanctions against those involved in the murder and others who were involved. And next up, another interesting work of fiction, this time Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. This is a great work of fiction, a great work of history, and it's the story of Thomas Cromwell, who ascended to the highest levels of a very corrupt Tudor England. And it really demonstrates how he was able to manipulate people until, of course, he lost his head. So if you want a rollicking good read and learning about corruption, check out Wolf Hall. Interestingly, All the President's Men by Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. If there's a more ubiquitous phrase in corruption than follow the money, I'm not sure what it might be. This tale is still a classic book of investigative journalism, and it really points to the power of the Fourth Estate in the fight against bribery and corruption. Great story. Great movie, better book, and really can't say enough about this book. And our final book is also a work of fiction. This time it's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This is the first of the Elizabeth Salander trilogy books that Larsson wrote. And once again, it was a great read as a murder mystery. It's first rate. Elizabeth Sander is a great action hero, and she's a great protagonist. She's very damaged because she has been abused, and the corruption comes around a high-level group of Swedish men, and it's all men, who engage in basically rape of young underage girls and sexual abuse. And Sanders and her journalist compadre, Michael Bloomfisk, their attempts to uncover this cabal in the Swedish government. The trilogy really plays it out further or lengthens it out, but this first book was just a revelation when I read it, and when you look at it from the corruption angle, it certainly tells a powerful story. I hope you've enjoyed these last two episodes of the Sunday Book Review on corruption. I would like to tell you about the latest addition to the Compliance Podcast Network. It's Two Gurus Talk Compliance, where, with my friend and colleague Christy Grant Hart, we take a look at some of the top compliance commentary around. It's a long-form, up to 1 hour podcast, but if you're interested in compliance, if you're interested in Christy Grant Hart and myself talking about compliance, this would be a great podcast for you to check in on. It premiered on March 10th on the Compliance Podcast Network. I know you'll enjoy this latest offering. Additionally, we have Data-Driven Compliance, which is a podcast where I look at the use of data in compliance programs. This is perhaps the most cutting-edge podcast I have going right now. And if you're interested in how data can be used, how to structure a data analytics program, what tools are available out there for you, and how compliance practitioners are using data, this is certainly the podcast for you. So check out Data-Driven Compliance, all on the Compliance Podcast Network. The Sunday Book Review is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.